how to meditate. We're going to keep this part of the course fairly simple, but we're going to give you some structure that you can use to take with you and explore other traditions, lineages, and styles of meditation. But this particular schooling comes from like insight meditation, which is all the rage all over the United States and across the globe. But we're going to break this down into two components: posture and breathing. And posture comes first, because if we don't have the appropriate posture when engaging in a seated meditation, then we're not going to have the ability to breathe appropriately or correctly. So, in insight meditation, there are 7 key points. It is legs, arms, back, eyes, mouth and jaw, tongue, and head and shoulders. First things first, I want to talk about the legs. Usually, and this is what most people understand about meditation, is it's a cross-legged thing. Now, usually you want to use a booster or something to elevate the hips so that the hips are not below the knees. This helps with circulation in the legs and helps to avoid some of the different circulatory problems that can come from sitting this way too long. Now, depending upon what your particular body style is like, or how you normally sit, this can be very uncomfortable. So it's important to note where you are at in your practice at all times, particularly with posture. And many of us who practice yoga will know this innately, but some of us will not. So I like to use a bolster, something like this. Sometimes people use a zafu or a seated cushion. Sometimes there's benches that you can use for like a knees, like a sitting on your knees meditation. There's even seated meditations in chairs. But it's important to note the traditional aspect so that you can adopt it to fit whatever it is that works for you best. So we'll start with the legs. The hips should be elevated above the knees. This helps maintain circulation. And then the legs are crossed. Now, never mind if you can't get into a full lotus position. Not everybody can, and it's really not the point. It's not it's not a contest or a competition. It's about finding where your body's at this particular moment and allowing yourself to kind of fall into a relaxation in that position. So knees should be there, feet should be crossed as much as possible. This allows for an energetic channel to be created in the body that kind of it gives us, in a less esoteric sense, it gives our body a kind of sense of oneness. There's no separateness. It's not operating 2 different feet at one time. So it kind of calms that connection to the lower extremities. The next is our arms. Traditionally, in insight meditation, there would be a particular mudra, but we're not going to focus on that here in this one. Your hands can be on your knees. Your hands can be out, palms out, whatever feels more comfortable for you. So one of the things I like to express here is posture is important, but also playing with what makes sense for you and your body makes more sense than trying to be rigid and stick to a specific structure. Hands out is good if we're trying to receive. I think that hands on the knees is great for grounding and centering. So if you're having a real tough time focusing in your meditation, hands on the knees loosely, elbows down. Don't try to flex them. Just let the arms kind of fall. Next is your back. Back should be erect as much as possible, but don't try to overextend. We're not up here. We're not slouched over like this. We're just nice and firmly erect. Old masters like to say that we should act as though our spine is a strong oak tree. You need to lean into it. Okay? Trust in your spine. The spine knows what it's doing. The body knows what it's doing. And although there will be some pain and discomfort in the beginning of your practice, eventually these things start to fall away as the body starts to understand, as muscle memory starts to kick in. If you find that there is some sort of discomfort in the back, lower, middle, or upper, make sure to breathe into that as much as possible. And then see if you can kind of let go. Maybe play with it a little bit and see what feels best. How does it work? This is the most important part, is figuring out where you're going to be able to sit for a long period of time. Whether that's 5, 10, 15 minutes, it's important to get this kind of posture correct. Next is your eyes. Eyes should be dead ahead. And traditionally, we're going to close our eyes, but you can also have like a soft gaze, wherein your eyes are just barely open. It's kind of a hazy gaze, but we're not straining the eyes. We're not looking at anything. We're letting the eyes fall directly in front of us, sometimes like 6 feet in front of us at a point on the floor, or directly ahead at a wall if it's around 6 feet. We don't want to be straining the eyes to focus on anything. For the most part, most people will close their eyes because that reduces eye strain. Next is our jaw. We want to kind of wiggle that out first, see if we can get some of the flexibility back. And then we're going to close the mouth just enough to like leave the lips barely open. Traditionally speaking, it is said that there should be like the ability to put a grain of rice between the lips. So we have a slight opening in the lips, but the jaw is not compressed. We're not biting. We're not grinding our teeth. We're just allowing the mouth to be closed, lips barely open, jaw relaxed. Tongue. One might think that that's not super important, but the tongue should be placed firmly against the back of the teeth and the top row of teeth, the back of the front teeth. Just gently pressing. What this does with that gentle press is it allows for air to flow a little bit more easily as we're breathing in through the nose. And the head and shoulders, head should be erect. It should not be leaning down, should not be to the side. Shoulders should be kind of down and back because we're allowing the body, the arms, to kind of flow downward. We're not going to strain them. So shoulders should be down and back, which helps with the erectness of the back. And head should be just straight forward. It kind of takes a second to kind of find where your head wants to move or where it wants to sit, but just kind of play with it and see, okay, where is my neck craned backwards? Am I forwards? Am I off to the side? So when we put this all together, we find a firm structure within which we can start our practice. This is something that I encourage you to play with, and I will include in the external resources of this video lecture a printed out detail of how we can kind of adjust some of these positions to better suit our own particular personal practice. Next, we're going to talk about breathing. So I will see you in the next class.